Hi, I'm Danielle, and I wanted to open my series on kind of tarot fundamentals by answering the question, how do I learn tarot? Which is a huge question that people ask all the time. And what they're really asking is not what do all these cards mean, but how do I go about learning the tarot? It's a very overwhelming proposition. Tarot is enormous. It is a deck of 78 cards that describe all of life and life's experiences to us. So people get rightly overwhelmed and don't know the first step to take. So I wanted to describe just like a couple of approaches that I think are very helpful when we're starting out. And honestly, they're helpful to adopt at any point in your tarot journey, no matter how long you've been reading, if you don't kind of take them already. The first is to acknowledge that you are never going to know all there is to know about the tarot. You will never master the tarot. I think often when we're kind of at the starting gate, like considering learning, getting really excited about the prospect of being able to read tarot, and we want to just like learn it all as fast as we can so that it will really start to work for us. There is no test that we're studying for. We don't have to stay up all night and cram. Tarot is a teacher, not a subject. So I think taking that perspective right away is very helpful because it gives us permission to go really slow. Like if we know that there is no finish line, we know we're never going to reach a level of mastery, we're always going to be a student, then that can just like allow us to, okay, take a pause, take a breath, approach it as we would like a marathon versus a sprint, right? I think another approach to take is to give yourself permission to keep it really simple. Just like we want to like memorize all the cards right away, we also want to start tackling big spreads right away. You know, like I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who've been reading tarot for like 2 weeks and they're like studying the Celtic Cross, which is a huge spread. That gets overwhelming super quickly. I think sometimes we have the impression that we're going to get more information and more meaning out of the cards the more cards that we use. And that is not true. I mean, it can be true for us at some points, and it may be true eventually, but it's certainly not true in the beginning. Because if you're allowing yourself to get bogged down and trying to find all the meanings and all the interactions of these cards that you're really very brand new to, you're going to get a very, very shallow meaning out of that spread. You're probably going to send yourself in all kinds of directions that don't make any sense. Whereas if you keep it really simple in the beginning to 1 or 2 cards, you're going to have a much richer engagement with those because you can take your time, they're more straightforward. Another thing that gets really exciting in the beginning of our tarot journeys is like we suddenly have access, right, to all this insight, and we're very hungry for it. And so we read about ourselves and every situation in our life presently or in the past or that could be conceivable in the future, and we just like read about everything, and that can be very overwhelming very quickly. I kind of call it like going to therapy every day. It can also lead to us like abandoning the cards for, you know, a period of time because we really we just can't take that level of introspection that long. Lots of people have said that to me, that I started learning tarot, but then I put my cards away for, you know, weeks or months because I ran out of questions essentially, and really they just ran out of energy to like keep looking very deeply at themselves. So if you give yourself permission to keep the practice impersonal, like tarot is a practice that I'm going to keep, and it doesn't always have to be about me, but it's still, I'm going to engage with the cards daily. I'm going to find meaning in them. So that's why I do those impersonal practices, such as drawing cards for pieces of poetry, drawing cards about situations in the world that don't directly involve me, just drawing a card for the purposes of research or for writing poetry about it, using it as inspiration for whatever other kind of project, but not necessarily taking it as a personal significant message to me at that moment. And that allows me to like deepen my knowledge of the tarot without always using it as a mirror, right? I'm using it as a tool to describe all of life and to learn more about all of life in general, not just about myself. So just giving yourself permission to do that can really help you keep your practice consistent, because we want this to be a consistent practice so that when we do have like a real emotional need for its guidance, we have more of a working relationship with our deck, and so it will be more useful to us in times of need if we have practiced with it in times that we don't quote unquote need it. So I think those are just kind of general attitudes and approaches to take when we're starting out reading, or like I said, to just like adopt at any point. Yeah, it's an overwhelming journey because it's never ending, but that's also why it's like so delicious and wonderful. And so I hope to share with you in these upcoming videos just some fundamental ways to look at the cards to like give yourself a foundation for practice that can really serve you long term, I hope. Okay, thanks, and I'll see you again soon.